I'm Dr. Blair Masters from Arkansas Physical Health and Rehab, and we are doing the first in a series of, there's going to be five videos on why to eat paleo. And
how.
Yes, why and how, yes, both. I'm going to go into why tonight, and then the other videos are going to primarily focus on how. You know, eating this way is a lot more of a hassle than going down to Taco Bell and grabbing a burrito or something like that. So why do it? Well, the main reason is being healthy. That's the purpose of eating Paleolithic. And I'm going to tell you some things tonight that are probably as foreign to you as, 500 years ago when Galileo said, oh, the earth revolves around the sun. People thought he was crazy and actually got after him for it quite a bit. I'm going to tell you things that you might think are just as foreign as that, and as dramatically different from the way you eat now than as the earth revolving around the sun. It's kind of crazy. Essentially, Paleolithic man started, who knows how long ago, a million years ago, and it's the Paleolithic era started when people started using hand tools, spears and knives and rocks and that sort of thing. And that's considered the beginning of the Paleolithic era. And then the Paleolithic era ended when we started farming and ranching. And at this point, people stopped being hunter-gatherers and they started raising animals for produce, basically to get milk out of them, to get beef or whatever other meat out of them. And then they also started raising fruits and vegetables in gardens and on farms. And this was a dramatic change in people's diets. It was a very dramatic change in their diets. And for a couple, and it depends on where you are, like for several thousand years, we ate that way. And then over the last 150 years, there's been this dramatic shift over about the last 150 years to a different way of eating, and that is that grains have become so inexpensive and so abundant that they inundate almost every meal. You wake up in the morning and you have toast and you have cereal, and you go to lunch and you eat a sandwich, and the chicken or the beef that is on the sandwich is probably fed grains as well, because it fattens them up quicker and gets them to market faster. And then you go to dinner at night and you have pasta. Grains are just this huge, huge part of our diets these days. And it really has a detrimental effect on our health. And there's a couple of reasons for that. There's three big reasons for that. And genetically, we are not prepared for these changes. We're really not. Because really, 150 years, people have not had the opportunity to evolve to get used to this new way of eating, and it's not good for us, and there's lots of consequences to it. There's three big reasons why you should eat Paleolithic. And before we get into those three reasons, I want to talk a little bit about what a Paleolithic diet is. Here's your plate. I'm no artist here, so forgive me. About 25% of your plate, maybe a little bit less, is meat of good quality, not Slim Jims or something like that, And then the other 75% of this plate is veggies. And non-starchy veggies like no white potatoes, they're kind of not paleo. You don't want to eat those in a Paleolithic diet. And then there's a small plate over here, and it is small, that has fruit on it. And this is basically eating paleo. It's very simple. It's very easy. There's two things that aren't on the plates. There's grains, aren't on the plates. We'll talk a lot about why not. And then the other thing that's not on the plate is dairy.
Sugar.
Well, yes, sugar.
Refined sugar.
Yeah, any kind of refined sugar. That goes a long time with the grains, because that's where most of the time we get our refined sugar. But yes, absolutely, you want to stay away from sugar. So, that's basically what paleo is. And you might be like, oh my gosh, it's so restrictive. And it's not. You can have basically anything paleo. Tonight they're making paleo lasagna. It is delicious. I've had this dish before. It's extremely good for you, and I think it's very, very tasty. So, what are the 3 big reasons why to eat paleo? There's 3 of them. One, and this relates back to grains primarily, but the number 1 reason why to eat paleo is it gets rid of gluten. Gluten is a protein that is in grains, and it's extremely bad for you, especially when it's as abundant as it is in today's society. And you've all heard of being gluten sensitive and that sort of thing. Now, I want to let you know, I am not a proponent of a gluten-free diet. That's way different than eating paleo, because they have gluten-free Fruit Loops, and they have gluten-free, sugared cereal. It's a soda pop with gluten-free. So you can eat very badly on a gluten-free diet. So that I don't endorse a gluten-free diet necessarily, but it is a benefit of eating paleo. The number 2 reason that you should eat paleo is sugar. Getting rid of sugar out of your diet in abundance is something that is extremely good for you. Sugar is the downfall of our society. It is horrible for you. Our bodies have no ability to deal with the refined carbohydrates. We just don't have the ability to do it, and as a result, diabetics are running around all over the place in America. It's one of the major killers in America today. But I think the number 1 reason, and I put it number 3, the last one I want to talk about the most, is omega-6 fatty acids. This is the other thing that you get rid of when you stop eating a normal standard American diet and go to paleo. You really lessen your omega-6 fatty acids. You don't get rid of them altogether. There's some omega-6s in a paleo diet, a normal amount. I think this is probably the number 1 thing. And I'm going to go into this real briefly and talk about why this is so important here. Normally, you've heard of omega-3s. You've all heard of omega-3 fatty acids? Okay. Omega-3 fatty acids, they're in fish, they're in grass, and nobody goes around eating grass, but if you eat like grass-fed beef, or you go shoot a deer that's been eating grass all year, then you're going to be in a situation where you have a pretty good balance of 6s to 3s. Okay? The evil twin to these guys are the 6s. And 6s, so we got fish here, over here. The thing that has the 6s the most are the grains, full of omega-6s. Soybeans are probably one of the worst, high in omega-6 fatty acids. Peanuts are pretty bad. Corn, rice, any kind of grains are going to have omega-6s in them. Now, you might say, well, who cares? You should have about 1 omega-3 to every omega-6 in the body. If you have an abundance, an extra amount of these 6s, it goes through a couple of chemical processes and turns into what's called prostaglandin E2. Prostaglandin E2 causes inflammation. And a lot of researchers believe it is the number 1 cause of pain in America today, this chemical right here. And the reason for that is the average American has 1 omega-3 for every 18 to 24 omega-6s. So we have 18 to 24 times the amount of this in our body than we should. And it causes a ton of problems. It really does. This is only one of the problems that it causes. It also causes problems with our cell membranes and all this other stuff. But if you have inflammation of your let's say you have inflammation of your brain, what will that cause in the long run? They've done a lot of studies, Alzheimer's, any kind of dementia. This is a major factor that they think is causing this. But if you have inflammation of your arteries, you're going to end up having fats deposit on the inside of your arteries, and you're going to have heart disease. If you have inflammation of your joints, you get arthritis. Okay? If you have inflammation of your pancreas, you'll get diabetes. And there's other reasons why these cause that. But if you have inflammation basically of anything, if you have inflammation of your blood vessels, you're more likely to have a stroke. But in general, inflammation, this low-level inflammation that you get in your body, is a major cause of just like feeling badly. It can cause a lot of issues with you. So this is probably the number one reason why, move that forward, number one reason why you should eat this way. It causes tons and tons of problems, not only just pain. Here's the issue, is we are programmed to eat. We're basically, and this goes back to the Paleolithic era, we're programmed to eat two things to stay alive. We're programmed to eat fat, and we're programmed to eat sugar. And why is that? Why do we like that? We're genetically programmed to eat this stuff. This stuff has the high calories. Fats and sugars have high calories. So anything that eats, that has this stuff in it, tastes really good to us. So, and this is back when we had the potential to actually starve to death back in the Paleolithic era. So our bodies were programmed to look for that kind of thing. There's fruit on a tree, that stuff tastes really good. There's something really fatty, like the fatty meats or something like that. I want to eat that stuff. Fish, that sort of thing with lots of fats in it. Our bodies are programmed to eat that way. And here's the other scary part is the food manufacturers have figured out that we're programmed this way. So they actually have people, they make up 100 different types of like soda pop from varying degrees of sugar, and they have a whole panel of people eat it, and they figure out the sweet spot. This is not sweet enough. This is just right. This is too sweet. It's yucky. Then there's their formula right there, is when everybody picks that one. And they use this against us. Same thing with like potato chips and that sort of thing. They add a ton of fat that makes it really nummy because we're genetically programmed. So we need to really break our programming and understand what these food manufacturers are doing to us and not eat that way, because it is a situation that will really, literally, eventually kill you. If you eat a normal American diet, you will live a shorter life. It is a bad approach. It really is. So anyway, that's why I believe people should eat paleo. I'm done with my preaching here.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
As far as dairy, like what is it? What's the thing that's bad about dairy?
Dairy is...
A lot of us have been programmed like
drink milk.
Drink your milk,
That's
eat your
the
yogurt.
commercials.
Yeah. Dairy has lots of problems with it. One of the problems is dairy and dairy products are the most allergenic foods that humans consume on a regular basis. That's one thing. Another thing, cow milk. One of the major proteins in cow milk is casein, and casein is not a protein that humans have the enzymes to digest well at all. So if you ever have like taken a vacation from dairy and say you don't eat dairy for a week, and then, or I'm sorry, maybe a month, it'll take probably about a month, and then you drink a big glass of milk, you'll be like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? Our bodies are not used to that. We're just not made for that.
We don't digest casein from the milk.
Humans are the only mammals, the only animals on the entire planet that drink milk after weaning. And you know, starvation is a serious motivator. You know, if that was the only thing available and that cow udder starts looking pretty good, you know. But we're not starving in America yet. We have the opposite problem. So, you know, if you can eliminate things from your diet that are bad for you, milk's I don't put it at the top of the list. I put grains at the top of the list, but dairy's up there.
So what about the probiotics and yogurt that we're encouraged to?
That is one area that I usually recommend supplementation. And the reason I recommend supplementation is the amount of probiotics in yogurt are not that high. They're great. If you're going to eat dairy products, you know, they say, oh, eat unprocessed stuff. Dairy's the opposite. If you're going to eat dairy, and some people do, you know, a good cheese really has, you know, has got a good flavor to it.
But once you've stopped,
But you
I don't like
eat the more processed with dairy products, the better. It's better. Your body has to do less to it, basically. So anyway,
My philosophy is if you're doing yogurt, they usually add so much sugar in it to make it more enticing. The sugar counteracts the probiotics in it, so you're not getting anything. I don't think.
yeah, oh yes, and also most meat is not all these days, but a lot of it is raised with antibiotics. And antibiotics, if it's in the meat, it gets in you and it kills off that stuff. So you need a lot of probiotics, and I usually recommend supplementation.
We take lots.
Yeah, you take lots.
So where does kombucha come in there for that? That has.
I mean, that's a very good thing to
Kombucha
do.
is-
My daughter
is
said that they
okay.
added yeast to some of them that are over the counter, which is counteractive too. So
Yeah.
the more pure that you can find,
Read your labels.
that's one of our classes,
Okay.
is how to read labels. Because the things that are in them, you're like, I don't know what that is. Some of the things you don't know what it is, you don't need to put in your body.
Yeah,
Um,
and some of it, you know, is not that bad for you. So ascorbic acid, you know, is a big word for vitamin C. Yeah, you've got to kind of read labels.
Yeah. But like a kombucha is good for people that don't like to take probiotics. My mom was on a big kick, well, I should do that, I should make it. Well, you can make it yourself,
And then you know what's in it.
and you know what is in it. And once ever so often, it's like people that like soda pop. I think kombucha has the same little bubbly effect that a soda will have. If you think you need to have a soda.
Oh,
I have
don't have soda.
clients that, you know, drink soda still, and I will bring them, this is what I drink, why don't you try it?
What is that? I've never heard of that.
Kombucha, it's a
It's a fermented
fermentation
drink.
of fruits, sometimes vegetables. What?
There's lots of ways to make it.
And there's a lot on the market, but there's like some of the health food stores will have their own fresh that you can.
And it's fermented
Yeah,
with
if you don't like
probiotics.
it, then, yeah, but it has
The
probiotics
good
in
ones
it.
are
It's kind of
fermented
like
with
your
probiotics.
pickles. You can find fermented vegetables that have probiotics in it too. That's like pickles, some pickles, not
Yeah.
all pickles. But they'll sometimes will say probiotics on the jar.
Or sauerkraut.
Right.
Yeah.
I bought some beet and carrot sauerkraut the other day. It's
I
pretty
have
good.
a question back to the dairy. Where do you get your like calcium and vitamin D and stuff that you would normally get from your dairy?
That's another
Myth.
kind of fallacy of dairy products. A lot of times when they pasteurize and homogenize dairy, the calcium is far less absorbable. You're way better off eating things like kale and that sort of thing. There's
There's calcium
tons
in
of
that.
calcium in this.
Broccoli,
Broccoli,
cauliflower.
vegetables have tons and tons of calcium, and the benefit of them is there's like almost no calories. You know, they're very, very high in nutrients, very, very low in calories. I mean, you can eat the whole, where's that thing? of
There's like
spinach?
a spinach on the box. Sometimes we'll say, like the smaller box, we'll say, 2 servings. And it's because it cooks down, but there's hardly any calories in it. So,
Yeah.
I can
But
eat
lots
a
of
box
nutrients.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so good for you. And then on top of that, there's the fiber and everything
Right.
else.
But we do also supplement vitamin D and sometimes occasional calcium.
I don't take any.
Yes, every so often. But vitamin D helps ward off your.
Vitamin D is good for tons of stuff.
What do you think?
Do
Did
you all
like
take
it?
supplements?
I do now.
What do you take?
D, I take probiotic twice a day. I take iron. What else do I take? 5-HTP, B, C,
Sounds pretty well rounded.
biotin. combine things.
Okay, yeah. What do you take? You take something with the metabolic research we talked about earlier?
I do a multivitamin,
And there's a probiotic too.
I don't know, I take is it the fatty acid, it's something, I don't know, they're the little yellow gel caps, not sure what they are, amino acids,
Okay.
maybe that's it. And one that's called the Total Woman, and then another one, I don't even know what it is offhand,
Okay.
so.
They had a probiotic.
They did a study on just multivitamins and found people live longer if they take them. There's benefits to them for sure. Anyway, I'll get out of the way and let Steph continue here.
All right, so we put that one in just now, and then we have this one that just came out. Woohoo! It's magic. It's like the cooking shows. That's right. But I'm gonna put it over here. I also made a salad and my own balsamic dressing. Okay, so I'm gonna give you each a little bit. If you don't eat it all, that's okay. But it's a good thing to try, and I hope this is warm enough.
Will you tell the camera just briefly what the ingredients are? You kind of threw it together while I was talking.
Right. So this lasagna, and I didn't use the fancy Italian sausage in it, but it does taste really good with it. This one has ground turkey in it. This one has venison in it. It's very tasty. And the cheese is made with cashews and coconut milk and spices, and it tastes like ricotta cheese. Then you layer your zucchini, or today we used yellow squash just because they didn't have any zucchini at the store that I was at. You add your herbs and your sauce and layer it with mushrooms and onions sauteed in there too. So then you have, my pan that I use only has like one layer of everything in it, but you can do 2 layers if your pan's deep enough. It's really tasty. It's not real time consuming if you can cook your meat ahead of time. And if you soak your cashews the night before and blend them up, it's good to have either a food processor or a blender to blend it up. And then you pop it in the oven. We're going to get ready to taste it. But I also wanted to touch base on the other classes that we're going to have before I cut it up. So if you'll know if you want to come to the next ones, I have 5 on here. 3 are scheduled and some of them may be conflicting. But the next one is how to eat and live paleo, and it's how to start, as in how to make substitutions. Today we use substitution for our lasagna noodles. So we'll be making rice and bread and pasta, spaghetti, and how to substitute your favorite carbs. The next one is how to buy, how to shop, how to read labels, what some of the ingredients are that you don't want in your body, such as sweeteners and other chemicals that are just not, you just don't want in your body. And we're going to roast vegetables, make them very tasty and spicy. We're almost ready, little girl. And then the next one is a very good one, is how to lose your cravings. Because if you're taking, most carbs out of your diet, you're thinking, oh, well, what about my candy bar? Or what about the, your brownies and all these things? Well, at first, when you adapt this, you'll want to take most of that out. But to know that you can have a treat ever so often, that will be our treat sweets making. So we'll make a few desserts and maybe a few salty things. But it usually takes about 21 days to break a habit and to lose your cravings. So basically 2 to 3 weeks is what most people say. I went cold turkey. I don't think I've had any pastas in 7, 8, how many years? At least 7.
7 or 8, yeah.
Except for gnocchi when I was in Italy. It's made with potatoes. So then I went home and made it with sweet potatoes. So you can adapt this to everything. And then the last one will be living active. That's how much exercise you need to increase or include in your life to maintain and to maintain physical and even mental health, because exercise is important. It's my job. And we'll have salads of all kinds. Those are the easy fun times. But the first two, or the first three, today's the first one, the 8th, March 22nd is the next one. Then the third one is April 5th is what we've got, but we think that conflicts with Good Friday. So we'll check to see if we need to change that, if it conflicts with people's schedules. But I'm excited about this. I am an advocate of this because we've been doing it
We've been doing it probably 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, probably about 8 years. I've seen a huge difference in my health, and heart disease runs in my family.
Mine too.
And
And that's why we do it, because we're trying to beat the diseases. My mom has breast cancer.
I just feel better too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just
And you
feel
maintain
better.
your physique.
Yes, that's another benefit
And
too.
you feel healthy. No medication, just vitamins.
Right.
But
Anyway,
on to eating this. Thank you very much.
you
We're
bet.
gonna
Thank
cut
you
this
all for watching, and be looking for our next Facebook Live event.